Is iedereen klaar met eten? Je mag je ijsje gewoon meenemen hoor.
Maar die wordt door de SSC.
Ik weet niet of we helemaal bereik hebben om de hoek. Ik ga er even naartoe lopen.
Sorry.
Gaan we beginnen? Wat erbij? Zou ik een ijsje en een drankje? Mooi. Gaan we van start. Komt erbij. Eerst even vragen. Hebben we een beetje lekker gegeten? Ja. Of we hebben eigenlijk heel erg lekker gegeten. Applaus voor de koor. Goed. So let's continue. Okay, we're back live here. Excellent, and with sound this time. So, sorry if you watched the first part of the stream, there was no sound, as I understood. But the code was great, so I'm so happy we zoomed in. Right, okay, so it's my pleasure to announce my colleague Gerben, who is going to talk about breaking CSS and how easy that is. Don't think I have anything more to say except good luck. Good luck. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. So I've prepared 6 live demos for you this night. But before I start explaining how you can install Backstop, how easy it is, and how you can test with logged-in Drupal users, I think it's a good idea to give you some introduction on how I started with visual regression testing. My name is Gerben, as introduced by Mark. I'm a professional web developer for 15 years now, working with Drupal for 10 years, and focusing on support and maintenance for the past 5 years. And I'm a support developer at Lehman Group. And I want to tell you about how I started with visual regression testing. Once in a while, especially when you're doing support, you meet clients or you work for clients that you really connect to, that you have click with. And for me, that client, for the past 5 years, has been DKMS, which is short for the Deutsche Knochenmarkspender-Datei. I know, I'll translate. It's a German bone marrow donor database. So I've been doing support for this site for the past 5 years, and their goal for this foundation is they want to defeat blood cancer, leukemia. And that makes it special for me. Well, there's 2 reasons. First one, my wife is German, so that's reason number 1. The second reason is that 17 years ago, my father died of cancer, not leukemia, but still. So this has a very personal connection for me. And this was the initial use case for me to start visual regression testing. Let me show you some numbers. I hope you can read it. The DKMS site is a Drupal 7 multi-site. It was built in 2013. So it's running for 6 years, still on Drupal 7. Currently we have 7 countries that include the US, the UK, Spain, India, Germany, Poland and Chile. They have a database now currently of 8.6 million people who are willing to donate bone marrow. That's quite a lot. And they've helped or found matches for almost 75,000 people. That's 30 times the number of visitors at the DrupalCon in Amsterdam in 2014, which is quite an achievement, I think. It really makes a difference. So the countries in red, that's the countries that we're serving. And you see 2 countries in green, although the Netherlands is quite small, of course. But I'm not working actually directly for DKMS. I'm working with a company called Performery, and they're based in Amsterdam and in South Africa. So that's why those 2 countries are green. And I've been working with them for the past 5 years. First, we were working from Amsterdam, an Amsterdam-based team, and last year we've been working with a South African-based team. And that's where my story starts. So after site number 3 went live, and there were plans for site number 4, the tester of the team, we have a tester that's every month, we have a monthly release cycle, and for each release she tests, or now it's he, but at that time it was a she. She tests the complete site. And after, I think it was site number 3 and there were plans for site number 4, she was saying, testing gets too much. It takes me a whole day to test the complete site. And it means 7 sites. How can we improve that? Can we pull the release to production a day earlier in the week, because we release on the last Thursday of the week, of the month, and she only had one date to test before the weekend. So I said, okay, what do you do? What do you do for testing? Well, she told me, well, I have a spider, and I check all dead links, broken links, but the thing that's giving me a headache is called the eligibility module. Let me explain a little bit. DKMS, the website, has 2 goals. The first one is finding people who are willing to become a donor, and that's where the eligibility module comes in. And the second one is finding people who are willing to donate money to process all the potential donors. Every registration costs about 50 euros to process. It's a foundation, they don't earn money, they only get money from donations. And she was telling me, I manually test the eligibility module on all sites, in all languages. Some sites have 3 languages, some sites use kilograms, because if you're a donor, you can only be a donor if your BMI is correct. So you go through a number of steps, you fill in your data, like height, your weight. And on some sites you put in kilograms, or you can switch to stones or pounds, or you can switch to feet and inches or centimeters. And she was testing all those sites completely by hand. And I was like, okay, yeah, that takes time. How can I help? And at that time I just learned about Phantom.js and Casper.js to run a headless browser. And with Casper.js then you could take screenshots. And I said, what if I was able to create screenshots for you after the deployment, automatically, so that you don't have to manually type in all the URLs, click. She was like, oh yeah, I want that. I really like that. So at that time, Backstop.js just started, wasn't really usable, and I found a tool called Phantom CSS. Phantom CSS, really great, did what it promised, was a hell to maintain. You had to install everything by hand, and every update it broke. And all the tests started with, okay, open the browser, go to this URL, wait for it to load, select this element, now grab a screenshot. If a screenshot exists, compare it. Is there a change? We have a diff, we have an error. No graphical interface, only command line. So, although it was cool, because we could really automatically test this part, the interface sucked. But as a tester, I thought, okay, she's a bit technical, she can do this. And I showed it to her, and she asked me, okay, how do I install this? I said, well, it's in a repo. If you clone it, you can run it locally. Okay, what do you need? Give me your public key. What's a public key? I said, okay, open the command line. How do I open the command line? Oh fuck. And I thought, I visited the company in Amsterdam a couple of times, and they were all working on Macs. And I assumed she was also working on Mac. There were 2 exceptions. The sysadmin and the tester. They were working on Windows. Phantom CSS did not run on Windows. So we tried to have the sysadmin put up a Linux to us. We did not have any experience with Linux, only Windows. So that failed. And a couple of months later, she was still testing, and now site number 4 was live, and we were talking about site number 5. She asked me, can we go back to automatically testing the eligibility module, because I'm really getting stressed by it. And at that time, I looked back at what I researched for her to find a solution. And I came on Backstop.js again. And I'll call Backstop now because JS, that's assumed. And Backstop, you can install Backstop with you can start testing with just 4 commands. And that's really easy. And I'm going to show you how to set up Backstop, how we use it at Lehman currently, and what we're working on as a final goal of what I want to achieve with it. And I'll explain as I go along. So I'm hoping that if I put down the mic, you guys in the back can still hear me, because I need 2 hands to type now. So if you can't hear me, let me know. Yeah, great, thank you. Let me see. Okay. So, to start out, I created 6 demos as promised. Let me just close the interesting ones. So this is the start. And to install Backstop, you only need to run npm install, and I install it globally, Backstop.js, and that's it. Then you're good to go. So, the next command that you have to run is Backstop init. This will give you the basic setup that you need to start running tests with Backstop. And Backstop, maybe I should explain that a little bit more. Visual regression testing assumes that you have a state where everything is okay. You create a screenshot, and that's what you call a reference image. Then you do changes, you deploy, then you do a test again. That's called a test image, and Backstop will compare the reference with the test image to check if there is a difference. It's as simple as that. So, Backstop init creates a starting point, and I will just show you before I explain what it does. No, it's not correct, of course. So now I'm creating the reference images. Oh, it's not. And to run a test, I just say Backstop test. That's all. And it will open up a report for you right away. And of course, I ran the reference and the test almost simultaneously, so there are no differences. We'll come to that shortly. But as you can see now, you have a graphical interface, a reference, a test, and if there was a diff, it would show a third column with the diff between the 2 images. Now let me show you what it looks like in PHP Storm. This is the default setup that Backstop init will create for you. At the top you have an ID, which is used in the naming convention, in the naming of the files. You have to define a number of viewports over here. And each viewport gets a label, the width and the height. Well, that makes sense to all of us, I think. And then we scroll down a little bit, we skip the on before and the already scripts. And there you have the scenario. The scenario is actually what you want to test. And it looks a lot, but let me clean up a little bit and show you what you actually need to run the simple test. We don't need this, and we don't need this. This is all you need to run your tests. Every scenario needs a label and a URL. That's it. You can put in selectors, meaning you can select elements on the page and it will create a screenshot of the element for each selector that you put in. If you don't put in a selector, it will just take the document, the complete page. So if I run this again,
Come on.
thank you. It's so loud, but it's cool. So running my references again, which I think is still pretty fast, considering that it's opening a headless browser, loading page, creating a screenshot, closing it again, and you see that's all we need. It's as simple as that. Well, yes, it's pretty simple, but we want more, of course. So I'm going to show you what Backstop can do, or what it's intended for, why it was created. I just have to start my local server. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you. Right. Put in a boilerplate. Okay. So I have here a website. I'm an astronomer and like a picture of dying stars, or a black hole in this case. So I have a website that looks like this. I've done the backstop in it. I've created a JSON file, as you can see. I've included an extra viewport because I want to test on a mobile, on tablet and desktop. And I've put in two URLs, the home page and the news page. And the news page looks like, like this. Also about stars, of course. Okay, so we have a website, and now we're going to create our reference images because this looks good. This is what we want. So go to my basics. I say backstop reference, and I'll move the mic a little bit. Okay, so it's created my reference images. Now I will create the test images and the report will pop up. This is a report in the browser. You can also have a report to your CI. No problem, you just have to use your CI as a reporting tool. And it won't put out this, but this is visual. This I can give to a tester and she says, oh, yeah, it looks the same. Whereas a CI, well, CI doesn't do anything with this. So, when I run a reference and a test almost simultaneously, you of course get no diffs. So I'm going to introduce a error by changing this CSS a little bit, which I prepared because it's a different things while I'm talking. And yeah, right. So I will go to my homepage because I wanted to have a little bit more white space between the paragraphs. I'm lazy, I like big white spaces. So now that it has changed, and I'm going to run my test again. Backstop. I have to run outside. Backstop test. And you will see that it's going to show you, well, of course, errors. And this is the part, this is what Backstop was intended for. You change something in your CSS, you test on page A, and you think, oh yeah, that's intended, that looks good. But on another page that you're not testing because, well, you didn't know that it was used there, it breaks as well. And that's an unintended change. And that's what Backstop tries to catch for you. It tries to prevent. And if you have a div, you get this cool feature where you can see, okay, show me
Very nice.
show me where the difference is, and you can see because the padding stacks, it gets larger and larger, the difference. And you can filter here by which tests passed, well, none of course. Failed, you can have how it's legible, the label, so the selector, so the element that was selected, the file name, and a URL. So you can directly go to the page that you tested and check how it looks. So this is the basic stuff. This is currently what we are using, that we will do for all our projects. If we do upgrades, maintenance, we create reference images before we do the upgrades. We apply updates, upgrades, patches, everything, then run the tests, and then we check are there any differences that we did not expect. Well, if you upgrade, you don't usually expect differences. And if we do, we can find them quite easily. But, and this is, I think this was the part where I want to show you another thing, because this is quite basic usage, but Backstop can do more. So we're going to do step 2. I'm going to start my local server again. So this should by now look different. So I have a very simple page. I have 2 elements on it, and it's turning pink after 5 seconds. It has a reason, I will show you. We have 2 elements. You have, if I hover over this element, text appears. If I click on this element, some more text appears. Unfortunately, it doesn't disappear if I click again. I was lazy. So just let me reload it. This is interaction, and Backstop has a way of performing actions for you before you take a screenshot, which is nice because that way, if you're testing your mobile version of your site, and you want to show your navigation, the mobile navigation, which usually is hidden by pushing a button, you can do that like this. So, by now you should know what I'm going to do. Say, Backstop reference. It creates a number of reference files, and it took a little longer than the previous one. And I'm going to show you why in just a minute. Just going to open the report and show you the different tests that I made for this. I reduced the viewports because I think we all understand that mobile, desktop, tablet, stuff like that, just to keep it simple. And I kept the demos as simple as possible. So here you see, this is only shown when the button is clicked. So Backstop was able to click the button and then create a screenshot. Backstop was also able to hover the button and then create a screenshot. Another nice feature, you can hide selectors. You can say, okay, let's hide, for example, if you have an annoying ad, which is always changing, you can give a lot of false positives, because you expect those ads to change, to be different on each page. So you can say, okay, hide these selectors. That removes them from the DOM and creates a screenshot. And a really cool feature, you can tell Backstop from the browser when to create a screenshot. So instead of telling Backstop, okay, load the page, wait 5 seconds or wait 2 seconds, then create a screenshot, you can tell Backstop, okay, wait for this string in the console to appear, and then create a screenshot. Which is nice, because sometimes stuff takes a long time to load. And in the previous version of Backstop, we are now version 3. In version 2, you had to set a delay. And you say, okay, let's put in 1.5 seconds. And then you're testing, and it took 1.6 seconds, and then you get a nice screenshot of a white screen. And now you can determine when you want to load or when you want to create a screenshot from the browser instead of from Backstop. So, just going to show you how easy that is. The part with the ID, the few quotes, I'll skip that. It's the scenarios that we're looking at. So the first one, it was showing the screenshot when with the click, and you just say, okay, click selector, ID button. It's very simple page, very simple HTML, so very simple selectors. And the hover selector. Okay, hover over button number 2, and the remove selector, and the ready event. Now to show you the ready event, it's really that simple. I know how to open it. I can't enlarge this part, but here it says start screenshot. And that's exactly what I told Backstop to look for or to wait for before creating this screenshot. So, and now I'm going to switch back to this.
Does it really have to be something in the console, or can it be some other JavaScript event that's fired?
Not sure. I have to look it up. It has a lot of options. If you look at the homepage of Backstop, it explains a lot. There's so much documentation, and I only outline a few of the options that you can do. You can also wait for an element to become visible in the DOM or in the browser before you take a screenshot, which is just another part of just use another identifier for label in your scenario. So, out of the box, Backstop does this. It's an easy installation, 4 commands to start actually testing. It's easy to define a scenario. You only need a label and a URL. You have to make sure that the label is unique, because the label is used to generate the file name, and file names tend to get overwritten if they have the same label, which I found out during creating the test, and I was like, but that was the cause. So, in the advanced scenarios, you can interact with the browser quite easily with just some basic options on that. And a plus point, a real big plus, I think, is it's easy to understand the report. If you have a div, you can swipe and you can see it. And the changes I make were quite obvious. But if you have a 1 pixel difference, it shows you color coded, and you can go to the div views. So this is what we do at Linux. For each time we do a call it maintenance, not key, and we do it about 50 times a month, I think. Probably 50 times a month on our local machine. So we're working with virtual machines, and we run Backstop, and that takes, well, these scenarios are quite simple. We have maybe 50, 60, 70 scenarios per site. That takes some time, and they're all running locally. And for the initial use case that I have for the DKMS website, they have 7 websites, 4 environments, and they wanted to be able to test on the staging, on the production, and I wanted to be able to test on the development side. Because at the beginning, when I started doing support, the site was using features. The features were built for the first site, and someone built the second site and they didn't use the features or did not completely reuse it. And I had someone explain to me, don't do a feature revert. Okay. Yes, that was an out moment. Especially, okay, you have 2 weeks, ask anything, then he's gone. Now it's up to you. So I had to come up with a way to test all environments. And as you see, the JSON file, it just contains hard-coded URLs of your, in our case, our local environments, our local machines. So now I'm going to show you what we've been working on for the past couple of weeks. And Daniel is here, Daniel from Blue is here. We just finished a Drupal 8 module that I'm going to tell you about a little bit later. Just today, so it isn't in the presentation, but it's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's go over to this part again. So I want to have a way of making it more dynamic. I don't want to hard code URLs in my JSON file. But JSON is actually not dynamic. It doesn't use any variables, so this is the JSON file. Well, as it turns out, Backstop can also work with a JavaScript file. And JavaScript, well, that's coding, so variables, dynamic. All we need now is to install one additional package, which is called Minimist. I'm not a programmer actually, so I'm using it. I don't know how it works, but it works. I can't tell you how it works, but it does its job. And this allows me to pass in arguments over command line. So if I call Backstop, I say use this config path, which is config.js here, and I pass in test host as a variable. And then in my scenario, where you can see the URL, it will put in that test host, that parameter that I pass on command line. This enables me to test from CI, in our case Jenkins, because I can call the Jenkins job, and we have a centralized Backstop server, we sync the tests, and then we say Jenkins, okay, by the way, create references, create screenshots, do your stuff, and then it will give me the report in a way when we're done. So, just to show you that this works, I prepared the next step, which is called dynamic. So now they should look familiar. It's the same site again, but now it's dynamic, or at least Backstop is dynamic. And I can call Backstop quite easily with following commands. I say Backstop, create references of course, and now use my config.js file as a configuration, as the configuration where my scenarios are. And you can see that it's running and it's creating a reference now. Oh. I'm still able to get the wrong view. And now it's running test, and in which we will see the that's just quite fast, so we run test. So this is not really fancy. So suppose that this is my local environment, and now I'm going to deploy on the production environment. And I don't want to copy this file and all my scenarios and replace all the URLs with hard-coded with the new URL. And I can just say, okay, Backstop. Let me show you that I can create my production URL, which runs on port 8001, and run with config path is config.js, but use as a test host. And I have to localhost 8001. So now it's tested my production environment against the reference images I took from my local environment. And you can see no diffs, which is makes sense because I didn't do any changes. But it's very easy to make Backstop dynamic. I can pass in anything I want on the command line and put it in my backstop configuration. And again, this is quite simple, of course. In the previous presentation by Finn and Alain, we already saw this kind of thing that module exports is. For convenience, I've already created something like this where I put scenarios into an array and pass that array to my export configuration, like this. So this is what we've been working on to get it into our Jenkins environment, to be able to run Jenkins on a centralized backstop server, where we can run all the reports wherever we want on any URL that we want. But there's more. Of course, there's more. Now, there's this little thing called a cookie wall, and you can see it is running as expected. This is the references. Sorry about that. And now it's running the test. And I've picked a site. I picked the wrong site, I see. Because now I'm not using the default configuration. I should use my dynamic configuration. And you will see what happens when backstop hits the cookie wall. So I'm trying to load the home page. Backstop doesn't have any cookies, and our server redirects to a cookie wall. And it does it for every page that you're trying to visit. So this prevents us from testing the backstop. No, there's a solution. But it always passes. Always passes? Yeah, no diffs. You can test as much as you want. There are no diffs. But there's a option for that. You can define a cookie path for your scenario. And you can create cookies. If you have a Chrome extension, you can export a cookie. Copy that, paste it in here. Let's see if I can find it. That's how it looks. So for the 24 kitchen domain, I want to have this cookie, which has the name accept cookies, and a value of 1. So now when I'm running my tests, I'll just click the reference. More info. And now I'm running my tests. And we will see in the test report that it's no longer showing the cookie wall, but it's showing the expected home page. Which is nice, which is what we want. So we can bypass cookie walls if we want. Very nice. But still not enough. Because we also have a lot of sites which require you to log in to use them. Like a community site. Well, to log in Drupal is just a cookie, right? You have a cookie name and a cookie value, which are kind of a bit dynamic, hashed, whatever. So, wouldn't it be nice if we had a way of getting that Drupal session cookie, give it to backstop, and then run our tests? Well, that's a nice thing. That's an option. Let me first show you, this is a work in progress to get more and more parts dynamic into our backstop configurations. So I put in some more options, and you see ref host here and test host. Backstop also has the option to define for each scenario what URL to take as your reference host. So you can take the references for production and a test host from your staging environment, so that you don't have to rerun your references in time. The reference images are kept, and the test images are generated each time you run a test. And unless you do a reference, then it overrides everything. Now here are some console logs just for us to see what we're doing. And here I've included a new part. I want to extract the logic from the content. So this part is the logic. Here I create scenarios. But what I want to test, I've put in a very simple file. And anyone can read this file, anyone can change this file if you like. It's not very difficult. All you need is a label and a path, and for example, hide selectors, cookie path, whatever you like. But label and path are required. That's it. So I can give this to my 11-year-old son, tell him, okay, find your website, put it in here, run a test. No problem. The hard part is, of course, getting the cookie from Drupal. I've also been working on automating the upgrades, the security updates for Drupal and Drupal modules. And I've made some scripts together with my colleague here, Dirk here. And I've been working on a script which generates this cookie for you. And it wasn't really that difficult. I found an API page on the forums which told me how to get the cookie, session cookie from the fresh command. So now what I do here, and this is the part where it gets interesting, because we have, of course, fresh aliases for all our sites. This command here just gives me, I'll describe the alias that I put in, format it as CSV, give me only the remote host, and don't show me any labels. This command gives me the domain where the site is running that I want to test, and the domain only. Cookies require the domain. So this is how I extract the domain from our alias. I type it in on the command line, but I don't want to do that because I want to automate this part. Then, and this is the actual command that's really interesting, perform a ULI on the alias, put in a UID, don't open the browser, just give me the URL, pass that URL to curl, perform a grep on the output. Yeah, I know it's a bit, but it works. And give me what I want. This part, and I don't know what it does, but it works. Yeah, I'm being quite honest. So this gives me the Drupal session ID, the cookie. And here I trim it and I split it. I copy the cookie template that we created. I put in the values, and now I can log in and test it as an authenticated user. So now I'm going to hope that it works. I'm going to show you how that works. I do it. Step 5. So, generate. This command I have to have in my distributors. Sounds good?
Not too hard.
Should we do some more? I've done this 5 times today. Okay, I'm gonna just see what happens. Generate text of cookies. I want to put in the alias, which is, I'm using a local environment for this because I have to have a running site. So I'm passing the alias to our virtual machine. I would say the UID is 1. Put it in a file called happy, or you hear that in Dutch.
I think the file name ends at .sh, right?
Yep.
So if you find that,
Yep.
it should be there.
Right, thank you. Okay, so here you can see the output, which is the name value of the session cookie. And you can see here that it's now generated 2 cookies for me to use in my master configuration. And just to show you, these are the cookie names. So I'm going to run 2 tests. One is the home page, which is using the anonymous user and the anonymous cookie. And the other one is the user only cookie. So, running backstop reference. Okay, well, it's just go back to okay, this is the anonymous cookie. Here you see the Drupal session cookie. It's running a number of tests. And you can see that it takes longer as the more tests you do. And now let me just show you. Run the test again, and the report will show what happens if you try to test as an authenticated user. Okay, so we have the home page, not logged in, and you can see here that we have a difference. It's an authenticated user, and I've used the admin content page as an example. And of course, you get the one-time login link on the reference, and you don't have that on the test because we're using the same session again. But you can see now that we can actually authenticate users and run a test with Dexter as an authenticated user, which is, I think, pretty awesome, because now we can automate testing everything we want, even if it's login user only site. So, what I've shown you now, we've made back to dynamic. I can pass in command line parameters, whatever I want. I can bypass cookie walls. I can test as an authenticated user. We just learned how to brush and regular expressions, but that's quite. I didn't defend it. I just looked it up in Google. So. And there's some extras. Because we also want to be able to get all the content. And that's where Daniel is coming today. Daniel's created a Drupal 8 module that gives me all the URLs that I want for testing. So, for example, it gives me for all the nodes, all the node types, a URL for each type, a unique URL to test. And URL, let me show you and command how it is. Because we have here a drush command for it. And if I run that command, if it's working, you can see now that for each node type in this site, it gives me a URL which I can put into my test paths. And it redirects to the oldest node of this type, which is usually stays the same. If I use the newest the newest node, it will change each time, and it will make a new node of this type. So with this, I can create for each type of node a scenario quite easily. But Daniel goes one step further because nowadays we use paragraphs a lot. And Daniel wrote a module that is this combination for paragraphs and notes. So if you have 5 node types and you have 5 paragraph types, you have 25 combinations. So you need 25 URLs if you want to test them all. And that's what Daniel made with this module. So it's now quite easy to cover all different combinations in all pages in our site, just with the help of TechTalk and the module. And to improve things a little bit further,
I know it's good to explain that what we have is that once you build a website, you write your scenarios, and say you want to test a job offer node or whatever. Most websites maybe have 5 job offers online, and you pick one URL like vacature/vacature. And if you do maintenance a few months later, that node doesn't exist anymore, it's already taken offline. So this is a way that we can make sure there's always a node available of that type, without having to create test-only content on the website.
That's one of the reasons, yeah. And the next thing is this is our desktop.js file, which is getting pretty large with a lot of code, with a lot of logic, and without any content. So, Ron, who's not here today, finished an npm package yesterday that bundles all this logic and does all this stuff for me and outputs it here, like this. And now I can distribute this to all our sites with just installing one npm package. I feed it the settings, I feed it the view ports, I feed it our test paths, and then it generates, can be used in our backstop. If you want to change how this works, we only have to change it in one location and update it with npm, and it works on all our sites again. So the ultimate goal for us, for me, is to have a system in place with which we can automatically update all our sites during the night. We come in the office in the morning, see our test reports, and say, okay, this one's done. This one is going to work, and that one's going to work. It will save us time because if we can run the updates automatically on a centralized server, test like this, we don't have to wait anymore. Now it's all by hand, and usually each backstop test takes about 20 minutes. And if you have to wait 50 times 20 minutes each month, that's a lot of waiting. So we're trying to minimize that by doing it like this. And we're almost there. So the npm package was finished yesterday. The module was finished today. I didn't want to fit it in the presentation anymore because I'm practicing this for 4 weeks now. And the last part, the thing that got me started with visual regression testing, that was of course the eligibility module from the DTMS website. Well, I've prepared a report today, this afternoon, and then you can see, if you type desktop open report, it will open the last report that it generated, which is a nice option. And here you can see all the different scenarios that I've made for this site. And you can see that it can get quite, there's a lot of different paths. If you have 12 of these cards, and they're all interconnected, and they have error messages, and you have to go back, and it will just pop up and everything. So I've done 9 of them, but I think there are like maybe 70 or 80 combinations. But we're working on it. And you can see that Baxter can also enter data into fields, which is nice, of course, because that way you can fill in the data and test if it really works. This is not the visual regression testing, this is hinges on functional testing, but hey, it's possible. I'm not complaining. And this is the part what got me started. We've used this in the past 2 nowadays, most releases to production, they are smoothly and test. And if you find an error, you fix it right away. If you find don't even notice. And that's how it should be. So, to wrap things up, that's it. So this is what I hope to, well, I've shown you that it's quite easy to start visual regression testing, and that you can do a lot with it if you, put your mind to it. And it's not that difficult. So the title, Breaking CSS yes, testing is hard. Well, it gets better. So, thank you.
You mentioned that it kind of makes the screenshots underwater, right? It doesn't actually open the browser. And I was thinking, do you think it would be possible to do this on a system that has no GUI installed? Yeah? Very cool.
Yeah, you can, the report that it opens, it's an option. I can show you in the, here it has report browser. If you put in CI, you don't get a browser opening the report. It just outputs the CI file.
But you do get the screenshots.
You do get the screenshots. Screenshots are generated. That's the browser and the Excel browser. I don't know how best it works. Again, I'm not really a programmer. I just use stuff like this to fix problems.
I was wondering if you have a reference with hundreds of images, and you've programmed a new bit into it. Do you have to make all the renew all the images, or can you say, I just want to renew this bit of the reference?
Yeah.
Because it gets big, it takes time.
It can get big quite fast, and the more you test, the longer it takes, of course. You don't have to regenerate all reference images if you don't want to. You can put in -i, I think, but it's a command line thing, and it only creates missing reference images. You can also filter based on the labels. So if you use your labels wisely, then you can even make sure that it only performs a subset, which is also nice if you're only testing a small part and don't have to test everything. Oh, by the way, here, that's the scenario for automatic, auto-generated text thingy. Tony.
That's my question, I think. Do you always have to test and reference and test against the same content? And does the module make that content for you, or does it just give
No,
you
the module is quite simple. It finds the node, in this case, type article, the oldest, and redirects to it.
Okay.
So it really loads node/id, and then loads that page, and then it's the screenshot is created.
But how do you distinguish between CSS changes in padding and an editor who just hit a returnable file?
Yeah. Well, you can hide selector, so if it's content, you don't have. Yeah, you can replace content. I think it was possible in previous versions to replace parts of content. So instead of the text, you put in more ellipses and use the same CSS rules. So that way you can make sure that the content is the same. And you get false positives.
What browser is it using underneath?
You can
Or you can swap them around.
swap.
From BHAT tests, I know we've ended up having to install Chrome and run it headless because you can't get to certain parts of the website with Phantom.js or whatever. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons that we switched from Phantom to CSS to backstop it because I think Phantom.js was no longer supported, so the project was abandoned in 2017. Backstop has support for Chrome, Puppeteer, I don't know if there are any others, but they used to have support Phantom.js, but that was they replaced it. You even have the option to run it through a Docker image or a Docker instance or whatever. I don't know Docker, so I don't know what I'm saying here, but it's also built in. And the creator of Backstop is working at LinkedIn, so I'm guessing that this will be supported for some time and not abandoned. But they're moving along with available options as well.
Did you use this to do cross-browser testing?
No. No, it's not a tendency to do cross-browser testing. It only allows. That's why they've created a Docker image, because you can even have minute differences between different machines. And if you use Docker image to run the testing, it's always the same. So, but no, it's not meant for cross-browser testing, unfortunately. You can use browsers that can script against that. Yeah. That's not this tool, unfortunately.
As an addition, it's good to point out that we're using this in our maintenance, where we do security updates on modules. But we're also using this if we are developing on websites or doing a small improvement on an existing website. You run your references before you do the update, then you change something, build a feature, say change from the news overview, and run your tests. Hope to find out that only the news overview has a difference and not the search engine page, search engine. Because that happened in the past as well. You fix something on page A, it makes page B broke and you have no idea. Or you do a module update, say paragraph module, and involves a script file that has changed, where some div or a class has changed in the HTML. So it's not only, although the title says CSS, it's also HTML changes.
No, they were using it much more, not only for CSS changes, but actually, basically, if something changes, you want to know about it. It doesn't matter how it's changed.
Any more questions? Wow. So I still get blinded by the huge beamer here at Semantic. Cool, so that brings us to the end of the 26th DrupalTechTalk. And
my
thank
function
you as well.
Yes. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you all very much for coming. It was a pleasure to have such a large gathering here with people. Stick around for a drink or leave if you have to leave. I know Brothers has some other obligations to go to. Well, I said, come talk to us if you have any ideas for talks, for locations, for other stuff you'd like to see at DrupalTechTalk. If you think of something tomorrow or another day, hit us up on Twitter, it's at DrupalTechTalk, or well, find us in Slack or somewhere else. I'm sure you can manage. Well, finally, the DrupalTechTalk is organized by Limon Groen and Hoppinger, so huge thanks to friends at Hoppinger as well, Ashwini and Boudewijn. And well, finally, really finally, Daniel wanted to say something to you.
Thank you again, speakers. And when you got those nice presents, I saw a few people licking their lips. So there's something for everybody in the room down the hall before you leave this building. There's something, and it starts with Tony, and you can pick it up before you leave. And that's a nice. Thank you for all joining us, and have a nice afterthought and taste. Woo! Goodbye.